great to see everyone today. And for those of you who don't know how this process works, I always thought it was a little awkward. All of a sudden, everybody stands up and he's like, oh my gosh, what are we doing? So first we're going to say our prayer, then we're going to sing the national anthem, then we're going to do the Rotary four-way test, and then you may be seated. So first, we will have our invocation, and we have John Bates.
I guess we don't do it in the same order that the Leviticus family does, right? This is a day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. As Rotarians, we live by a set of guidelines known as the four-way test. I'm going to offer today another set of guidelines for living as people of faith. Something I discovered recently and I think is worthy of our listening. Please hear the words of Paul's letter to the Philippians as part of our prayer this morning. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is pleasing, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, and if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. As for things that you have learned and received and heard and noticed in me, do them, and the God of peace will be with you. Dear Lord, please let us live our life of faith with you, adhering to principles like those that Paul espoused. Let us not only think of them as part of our living, but let us teach them to others, to friends, to children, to family members. For whatever is good is what we should be all about. We thank you for the many blessings of our lives and for the blessings of this day as we gather together as Rotarians. Amen.
Thank you, John. And we will now, oh, I'm driving. Okay. So we will now join me in the national anthem, and I'm not going to sing loud in here, so you will have to pick it up.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hail at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight for the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Okay, and of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Right, please be seated. And just as a quick introduction, hello, my name is Laura McKinney, and I am your newly designated president for this year. Happy to be here, happy to see all of you here today. And we will now have Adam Campbell's going to come and do our introductions of Rotarians and guests. So if you do have a guest, if you would please stand, and Adam will help you out there.
Thanks, Laura. All right, we have two visiting Rotarians today. If you stand when I say your name, please. We have first Emerson Smith from the 5 Points Rotary Club. And we have Chris Culbertson from the Manhattan Rotary Club. Did I miss anybody? Any guests?
Thank you, Adam. And we'll also now have Mike Peck come up and we will do the health and happiness.
So I'm going to start with a quote today, Winston Churchill. You make a living by what you get, you make a life by what you give. So in the spirit of that, do not forget your cart funds and give. Latest news from Mayo Clinic says they are using AI for early detection of Alzheimer's. They are now being able to detect it before you even have symptoms. So exciting news there, but they need funding to do more research. So some good news on that front. I want to give this to Denise. Part of health is where you currently stand, and she's going to talk a little bit more about that.
Thank you. I'm Denise Teasdale, I'm the Executive Director of American Red Cross. As for health, we are in a critical need for blood. Today, for the second time in American Red Cross history, our president has declared it to be a crisis. That's how much blood is needed. At one point, we were able to have at least 8 days of blood on the shelves. Now we don't have 1 day of blood on the shelves. And with American Red Cross being the organization that is mandated for 40% of the nation's blood, we are in dire need of donors. Come to 2751 Full Street, donate blood. Again, this is to help people with accidents, and this is old type blood, but we are in need of all types of blood, not just blood, but any blood donations as platelets as well. Platelets help our cancer patients. So if you have a desire to give blood, please stop by. You don't need an appointment. It's better or quicker if you make an appointment, but you don't need an appointment. You can walk in at 2751 Full Street, or you can sign up at a blood drive near you. But again, this is a lot of people's health are in dire need right now for blood. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Quickly, if anyone here has a business that could host a blood drive, is that something you can do about?
Yes, please see me afterwards.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Denise. And I just have one little note of happiness that I wanted to share. Jenny, congratulations. Jenny is engaged to be married. So that's a nice, happy thing to start with today. And now I think, sorry, Julia, putting you right on the spot here. Oh, thank you, you're right. Look at that, just keeping me on track. Kelly, would you like to come up and talk to us about membership? Kelly is our president-elect, which in our club means she is in charge of membership. So we're gonna kick this right off. Thanks, Laura.
We're going to have regular updates about membership over the next year, but I just wanted to start with our goals that under Laura's leadership and Laura Graham and I met, and we currently have 98 active members in our Rotary. And I know for some longtime Rotarians that may seem like it's not as robust a number as it used to be. However, that's 98 active, on the roster, dues-paying members. And we can do a lot with 98, and we can do a whole lot more with our goal, which is going to be for this year, 100 members. So you just think, okay, great, 2 members, we can do that. We've got that easy peasy. But with attrition, that means that we will need to bring in, with our historical attrition, 36 new members. We can do it, y'all. We're great. We are great. This is a great, active, robust club, and people want to, in this day and age, they are looking for avenues of service in the communities where they live, and I think this is something that we can easily accomplish, if not more. So that's membership, and then Laura has asked we're doing different board members, and we're just gonna kind of reintroduce yourself. I am on the board as president-elect, and just a little bit about me. I'm currently the client relations manager for a company called Contract Construction. So on a day like today, if you see me in denim, I'm probably headed to a job site, which we're doing just a little one right down the street. You know, that stadium right down there? A little $350 million redo. And I was just there on Thursday with our newest intern. His name is Rasul Faison. He's a running back. And he was very excited to be a part of our team. We are so great on our timeline, we've even started cleanup already. We're gonna be ready. For those of you who are wondering what it's gonna look like, right off the bat, when you walk in, you're gonna see the market grab-and-go kiosks around the perimeter of the stadium. So instead of those long concession lines, they're gone. You're gonna just walk in, grab and go. It's self-serve. They look phenomenal. They're gonna be easy, they're clean, and then they're gonna be beer kiosks and beverage kiosks throughout. So those lines are gonna be gone. And then the new, fun little fact, so we relocated the visiting football teams. It's called Diagonal, so now that visiting football teams are gonna exit where their fans sit. And I've learned with football players who are on our team, and Rasul even backed this up, when you go to another stadium, the goal apparently is to make the visiting team feel as uncomfortable as possible. And instead of nice, beautiful locker rooms like you get at your home stadium, you get normally benches that are small. And you, like they said, Alabama, Auburn, you sit on benches, you don't have lockers. It's a boom box that they'll bring in. There's nothing fancy about it. Well, our visiting locker room apparently is one of the nicest they've ever seen. There's carpet. We've done lockers for the players. But the one thing Shane Beamer said, take out. We don't want them in there. No mirrors. He said, they don't need a mirror. They can figure it out on their own. So there's not a mirror anywhere in the visiting locker room. Anyway, real quick, I'm married to a guy named Craig Augenstein. We have 3 children. They're all gainfully employed, and I'm real happy about that. All right. So I also have the pleasure of introducing our speakers today, and I'm real excited about these 2, Chris and Kim. Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah.
You see her there.
Let's go.
Yeah, come on up. Kelly, thank you so much. And you're going to be hearing more from Kelly as membership goes. And she is enthusiastic, but this is a group effort. So we are all going to be needing to pull together for that. So Matt Kendall is going to be here to introduce our speakers today.
Thank you. These speakers are so good, we're fighting over who's going to get to it. But let me tell you, I do know both Chris and Kim, and they are wonderful people, exceptionally talented. Chris White is, I guess we could still call him the new president and CEO of Columbia Metropolitan Airport, but he comes to us with all sorts of experience, more than 30 years helping commercial service airports navigate growth, modernization, and stakeholder collaboration. He most recently served as the Chief Operating Officer of the Charlottesville Albemarle Airport Authority, where he oversaw airport operations, marketing, air service development, and also a record-setting capital program. Previously, he spent 14 years as airport director at the Albert Ellis Airport in Jacksonville, North Carolina, where they achieved more than 50% growth, more revenue, and delivered more than $100 million in terminal, hangar, and other improvements. His earlier leadership roles was in Raleigh-Durham International Airport, Little Rock National Airport, DFW International Airport, where he built his experience really in safety and emergency preparedness and large-scale development. Chris holds a Master of Public Administration from the University University of Arkansas at Little Rock, and a BS in Aerospace Administration from Tennessee State University. He is an accredited airport executive and a private pilot, so he really knows how to fly the planes that he's trying to land and watch them take off. He's known for his collaborative, steady approach centered on customer experience. With our airport, brings the best of that. Chris and his wife, Colleen, are excited to join the Columbia community. They have 2 daughters, Megan and Cora, who are just getting ready to start college. So we're just glad that you're here, Chris. The second person I've known for a really long time, Ken Crafton, is the Vice President and Marketing of Air Service Development for the airport. As the Vice President of the airport, she is tasked with setting, managing, and executing the overall strategic marketing and communications direction for the airport, while also working to increase air service to the Columbia market. Within her department, she has a team that does social media, but creatively connects with its passengers. And it is true that the social media presence has the highest number of followers on Instagram of any South Carolina airport. And during her time at Columbia, she really is focused on new air service, bringing in several new routes and carriers. Prior to the airport, she was a public relations manager for Discover South Carolina. And in that role, she oversaw both domestic and international travel relations, and also managed the award-winning South Carolina Chef Ambassador Program. Kim is from Greenville, attended the University of South Carolina, where she earned a BA in Public Relations and also a Master's in Mass Communications. She's a former member of the Executive Board of the Public Relations Society of America and is the immediate past president of Historic Columbia, which I can tell you she did an incredible job there. She is the marketing chair of the Midlands Business Regional Competitive Council and a graduate of Leadership Columbia and Leadership South Carolina. So as you can tell, the airport is in very, very good hands. So on that, let me turn the microphone over to them for their presentation.
Good afternoon. How's everybody today? I always like to start out any of my conversations with, who has flown recently? A lot of hands. Who has flown from Columbia recently? Well, there's a few hands in our bunch. That's not good. We're going to work on that. We're trying to convince you otherwise. So, as he mentioned, my name is Chris White. I'm newly appointed, as of January, appointed as the President and CEO of the Columbia Metropolitan Airport and the Richland-Lexington Airport District. We are a special purpose district and have been for many, many years. Here's a quick question. How old is the airport? Does anyone have any idea? Well, we're 86 years old. We look pretty good for 86. The terminal building itself, parts of it were built in the 60s, but most of it is about 30 years old, so it'll give you an idea. So the airport is, we like to talk about the airport as a little bit more than just where you go and board a flight. We say air service development is economic development. That's really what we are. We are economic developers. The airport is about 2,505 acres. And we also manage a lot of pavement. Just on the airfield alone, we have what's equivalent to 161 lane miles of road. That's a lot of pavement. But we do leverage those resources to create jobs. That's really what our main focus is, create those jobs and enhance the quality of life and connect the Midlands to the world. The airport is self-sufficient. We operate as a business. And as I mentioned, we're a special purpose district. So we get exactly zero from the cities or the counties in this area. That's okay. We're happy to do that. In fact, we do the opposite. We actually generate about a $3.3 billion a year economic impact. So we're a pretty big business. We support over 16,000 jobs today across the Midlands. And we generate actually about $85 million a year in state and local taxes. So what do we do with those taxes? Or we don't do anything with them. We don't get any of them. That goes to the state, and it goes to the community. It goes to build roads, goes to build schools, and goes to lower your property taxes. Because we don't have people attending schools and consuming utilities and other resources in the community. So we'll talk a little bit more about CAE. In 2025, we had 1.37 million passengers and about 331 million pounds of cargo. And we had about 71,000 operations, aircraft operations, on landing and takeoff. Hopefully the same number of landings and takeoffs. So today we have 86 district employees. So when you go to the airport, you're not likely to actually interact with an airport district employee, because we are the police, the fire, the maintenance, the custodial staff on the airport. So we don't take tickets, we don't run the screening operations, we don't load luggage, except in a few circumstances. We'll talk about that in a minute. We don't directly interact with folks. In fact, the only thing we sell directly to the public is parking. And that is our number one source of revenue, and that's what we use to pay everyone. Kim and I appreciate that. Thank you for parking in the airport. And we're doing some stuff, we'll talk about that in a minute. We're doing some stuff to improve that, make it more. There's about 4,000 people that do work at the airport on a daily basis. They would work for UPS, or they work for one of the airlines, or they work for the federal government, TSA. TSA has almost 100 people there. So we have a $25 million a year annual budget. It costs a lot of money to maintain those 161 lane miles of pavement, mow the grass, and all the different things that we have to do at the airport. But again, we get zero in local tax revenues. With 2,500 acres, we also own an industrial park, a business park near the airport. So we're landlord to a lot of different businesses around the airport. And we focus on trying to bring businesses in that create jobs. That's what our focus is. So 129 acres of pavement on the airport, including all that. That's a lot of pavement. And we have two runways, 8,601 foot and 8,001 foot. Those are pretty good long runways for domestic operations at the airport. But it's a little bit different. Your Columbia Metropolitan Airport has been an international airport for 44 years. We just don't call ourselves that. That may change in the future, but we've been international. We get flights almost every day that need to clear customs, and we just opened a new customs facility. We'll talk about that in a minute. So what do we do at the airport? What does the airport itself do? We do safety and security, compliance. We are regulated by every one of the alphabet letters, including the FDA, which is crazy. But we're basically facility managers and property managers, but really a big thing there is economic development, marketing and promotion. And then we actually are a little bit of an entrepreneurial organization. We have a group of our staff that will actually ground handle airplanes. We do this to give ourselves a competitive advantage. So we can operate, we can serve aircraft all the way up to 747. We can offload cargo, offload passengers, and ground handle the planes. We do this to help attract that sort of business into the community, because we can offer it at a little bit of a discount. We have no profit motive, so we just have to cover our costs. We can offer a discount in doing that to bring in more business and industry within the community. Obviously, financial management and advocacy. And we are advocating right now. So. Well, we have a team, and that's kind of our team. We have a very diverse team that do all sorts of different jobs at the airport. Yes, we even have a dog. Well, he works too, and he earns his keep. I will tell you that. So that's part of the team. These are the airlines that currently serve the airport. Yes, the cargo companies are airlines. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, these are some of our other business partners that are at the airport. So think of the airport like a mall. We operate a big facility, and then we rent out space to other people who provide services or product to people. So these are some of the companies that work at the airport. These are some of our transportation providers. We have about almost every rental car company we have. There's a few out there that we're looking at. And Uber and Lyft have changed the industry, Turo and others have done. So what has the airport done over the years? This is faster traffic. It looks more like a EKG. We tend to grow. We think we're on a pretty steady trajectory. You can see what COVID did to the market. You can see how we've completely recovered, which is great. So some of the peaks, people always are curious what caused some of the peaks. So back in the late 80s, we actually had multiple additional airlines that some of them don't even exist today, like People Express and Continental's merged with United. We were a hub for a couple of years in the mid-90s with Air South. And then Independence Air also set us up as a hub in the early 2000s, and that's when the traffic spiked. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the projects that have been recently completed at the airport, maybe some that are on tap for the future. This one with the Checkpoint Expansion Project, it's a great project. Somebody was already asking about it today. If you haven't been to the airport recently, this is a very, very nice addition to the airport. We needed to expand the checkpoint to get rid of the lines, to encourage the TSA to put in more equipment, more staffing. So while doing that, and also planning for the future, we went ahead and added some additional amenity spaces in there. So if you haven't been out there, this is one of the few airports that actually has an airside outdoor lounge. So you can go out there, sit in a rocking chair and watch the airplanes come and go. It's a little hot this time of year, but it's otherwise very nice. We have an interfaith and meditation room, as well as a sensory room. Some people air travel is a little stressful, so this helps with that. As well as a business center. That's what it looks like now. It's open for business. It's something really enjoyable. So if you show up at the airport, you need to take a call early or something before your flight. Perfect place to do it. That's immediately to your right after you come through the security checkpoint. So if you get to the coffee stand, grab a coffee and hang around. Kim serves wine in there sometimes, so it's a fun space.
This space too is not affiliated with the airline.
Yeah, it's not affiliated. There's no charge to get in there, no charge to use it. So it's a fun little lounge space. And there's the outdoor patio. I was amazed when I came to this airport. So you have to sometimes have big tanks of water for the fire sprinkler system. Well, we have that, but we wanted to do something pretty cool with it. So if you go out on the patio area, you'll look down and you'll see some lagoons. Well, that's water for the fire sprinkler system, if it ever triggers it. But we've also made it a very nice, calming pond, open pond that you can go see. So, next project was a customer experience upgrade down on the lower level off baggage claim. You can see the fun mural that was painted and some furniture outside, so it gives kids a little place to hang out and people wait for their rides. It's also where the bus picks up, as well as ride shares and taxis are down there, and that was completed late last year. So this, we just cut the ribbon on this about 2 weeks ago. It'll be open and operational here within probably a week or so. We have been a designated port of entry and international airport since 1982, and the Midlands has a significant number of international business across the region. If you look at the map, which shows all the flags, we're our very international community. It's part of the reason we're pushing some of the international cargo work that we're doing. But there's also private corporate aircraft that come and go and clear customs. Some of them fly in, clear customs, and fly on to their next location. Some of them actually just are here to do business here. So it's amazing to see how many are. But it could be between 150 to 200 flights a year. So it's very busy. The customs also clears cargo as it comes in too, which is important. The airport also operates a foreign trade zone. So what's a foreign trade zone? And we have multiple tenants within it. We don't necessarily own the land where a foreign trade zone is, you're designated, but you're allowed to bring freight in internationally. You're allowed to store it, manipulate it, and ship it from that foreign trade zone without being exposed to the tariffs and duties and things like that. So it's a very beneficial thing for businesses who import and export within our community. Again, our goal, our mission of creating jobs. So this helps to create those jobs. This is a fun project that's underway right now. It's about a $37 million project. And it will generate about 3.7 megawatts of solar energy. So that's not really, and it's great. We're going to generate that power. We're not going to give it to the utility either. I'm sorry, Dominion. We're going to use it ourselves. So we are also doing battery storage on the airport. So we're building our own microgrid so that we can eventually become energy independent, but it will help us get there a little bit, and it'll help buy down some of the cost associated with generating this. But one of the nicest benefits of it is now the parking deck will be covered, all of it. It will also have those red lights and green lights that everyone likes. It tells you where to park. It's a wonderful thing. So we're actually doing a fun partnership with USC on this, using some technology, some AI that manage our loads, our power loads as they come in now. It's a pretty neat thing. So it's expected to supply about 40% of the terminal's needs. Terminal generates uses a lot of power. Those moving side are the escalators and elevators and you know, all the conveyor belts that we have, they all use a lot of power, plus the heating and cooling. And then through this AI and technology, we're going to also just lower our consumption of power in general. So that's a wonderful project. That's going to be going through the fall, and then half of it will be done before Christmas, and then half of it will be done in the winter. Terminal expansion. People ask us about this. We're finishing up a master plan right now, and we're outgrowing the terminal. And we hope to outgrow it faster. That's part of why they hired me, is to help us outgrow this terminal. So we have to plan for the future. We have to plan what we're doing in terms of expansion at some point in the future. This is a rendering that during the master plan they came up with. So it's one of the ideas. There are many ideas on how we go about doing this. But the terminal opened in 1995, and will expand as the demand requires. We can grow a little bit more in the existing building, but we'll probably have to expand the building in the 5 to 10 year range. And it takes, I've built 3 terminals in my life. Each one of them takes between 5 and 10 years to build. From the time you get the idea to design, to funding and so forth, to do this. So additional gains, large cold rooms, because the airlines are buying bigger airplanes. The regional jets that we all love, and I know we all love those regional jets. There's about 100 of them on order, because there's only one manufacturer anymore. But there are 10,000 single-aisle narrow-body airplanes like 737s and Airbuses that are on order. So we can, the writing's on the wall as to which way the airlines are going. They're going to bigger airplanes, probably a little bit lower frequency than the bigger airplanes. We're going to see actually larger airplanes here later this year. Kim will talk a little bit about that. But, that's what the future is, and you have to have the right kind of facilities. So what we want to do is remove any constraints to growth. So that's what our capital program looks to do, is we don't want our buildings to be any reason that an airline doesn't grow. So, and who knows what the future has. So we're looking at electric aircraft too. It's a big thing. Actually, are flying. So with all that pavement on the airfield, we have to change geometry occasionally. We have to repave things as they get older. A concrete runway will last about 40 years, whereas asphalt will last between 15 and 20 years. You have to repave them periodically. But we have a big ongoing project right now. And this project, in the end, may end up being close to $100 million by the time it's all said and done. And all the different phases that are going on. We're about to award another phase of it. But it's multiple projects, and it's focused on safety and efficiency on the airfield. We're just finishing up Taxiway Echo now, and Taxiway Delta will begin after the first of the year. realign those. So this is our entrepreneurial foray that we've done. We have an aviation services division that provides these services to the airlines. We ground handle charters, scheduled air carriers, as well as cargo. This cargo is coming in from Ireland, I believe. So we get all sorts of different cargo from different places. Very interesting. And then I'll pass it off to Kim.
Thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to talk a little bit about air service development. It's always everyone's favorite kind of topic, and sometimes I'm either loved in a room or hated in a room. So hopefully we'll just all be nice to each other. No, just kidding. So currently, CAE is served by 3 legacy carriers: American, United, and Delta. We have 9 destinations to 10 airports. So that means we also serve both of the main airports in DC, Reagan National and Dulles as well. I want to talk just a little bit about some of the, actually, let me go back. So I want to call out one thing. So we have Miami. So Miami right now is seasonal service offered on American Airlines. It is 1 day a week. It's on Saturdays. And we have been trying for a number of years to increase that frequency and day of week service. But sometimes I'm asked, how does an airline choose to do seasonal service instead of going year round? Well, it's a couple of different factors that kind of play into that, so I'll just touch on a couple. One, sometimes an airline is looking at a particular market to see the viability of a route in that destination or in that market. So they may say, you know what, we are seeing strong traffic between Columbia and Miami. Let's put a seasonal route in there just to see how it performs. It is a cost-saving measure for that airline to test out a market, but it also too provides a market an opportunity for having another dot on their route map. Sometimes too, it really is that an airline has the ability to have flexibility with their aircraft. So they may have that, they may not have an aircraft to serve this route year round, but they could have it a small window of time, so they pop in a seasonal service. Myself and Chris have talked about this a lot, that typically an airline will do this for 1, maybe 2 years. This has happened, we've had this seasonal service for the last 5 years. I have been pushing American every time I meet with them. Please, either extend the number of days that you operate, because 1 day a week is kind of tough. I mean, I'm fine to go to Miami for the full week if Chris will allow that. Come back on Saturday. But it just is not as convenient as some of the others. I think people want to be able to have the option to come back sooner. So we're working on it, but we will see. I'm just thankful for the service. That's what I tell them. Okay, so I do want to talk a little bit about some of the new and expanded service. So you probably have seen, we have talked about this over our social media accounts and of course through press releases and media announcements. But Chicago is hot right now. We are really excited to have 2 times a day service to Chicago on American, and then United has moved from 2 times a day to 3 times a day. So if we're all adding up correctly, that's how many dailies? That's right, thank you. So 5 daily operations to Chicago International is great. It allows for our passengers to be able to really have a varying array of times that they could go as well. So we have a couple of first thing in the morning flights, mid-afternoon, and then in the afternoon as well. Also, we have upgraded service. This is what Chris was mentioning earlier. So in the back half of August, September, and October, American Airlines is going mainline to DFW, which is great. That is huge news, and it's just a larger aircraft with more seats. So when an airline does this, when they go from regional jets to mainline, they're seeing that there's demand in that market and people are getting on that service. So for those of you who have flown to DFW from CAE, thank you, and continue to do that. Another new service that started at the beginning of this year was United to Newark, New Jersey. It has been a great route for us so far. It started off a little bit slow, but in the last couple of months, it's really picked up. And so I'm really grateful that that service is there and we have that very option within our roster. Now, I will say, Newark was a quick addition after we had an airline exit our market. So I guess Chris said this the other day, we'll talk about the elephant in the room. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and pop both of these up. I tell ya, here we go. So Spirit came into our market with 3 different routes. So they were flying to Orlando, Fort Lauderdale, and Newark, New Jersey. Just before they started service, Allegiant came into our market, and they were serving Fort Lauderdale as well as Orlando, Sanford. And so, unfortunately, both of these airlines are no longer operating out of CAE, and one of them is no longer operating at all. I think you have some animation that you created with this. And they're disappearing slowly. Just like my soul when they left. Let me see what's the next thing. Okay, so I want to touch on Spirit and Allegiant really quickly. So Spirit and Allegiant, what can we learn from this? This is something that we talked about internally often, and we really wanted to do a deep dive and analysis of what went wrong, what went right, and what can we learn about this in the future. So a few things I just want to communicate here. The first thing is this market can support low-cost service. You know, there's a big push, and it has been pre-pandemic, that this was a very business-heavy market, and it was just business-focused. Post-pandemic, we have seen that that's really actually leveled out to where our leisure travel and our business travel are kind of hand in hand. And so we're seeing, and we saw, that when Spirit was in our market, they were doing such a great job. So one of the things that we measure or use as a benchmark are something called load factors. I've talked about load factors to this group before, but it's probably been a year ago, and this isn't your industry, so let me remind you and refresh your memory. Load factors within the industry, about an 80 to 85% or higher load factor, meaning how full an aircraft is, determines if it's a strong or viable route. Consistently, we were seeing load factors in the low 90s to mid 90s, and sometimes even higher on Spirit, especially to Spirit Fort Lauderdale and to Orlando. Now, another thing that we learned, our market does not like to fly to places that are cool adjacent. So let me make sure I understand. Our market wants to fly directly to Orlando. They do not want to fly to Orlando Sanford, even though it has the same name and the title, different location, as well as distance. So if you think about it, if you fly to Orlando Sanford, you're still having about a 40-minute drive to Orlando. And I think that is really one of the crux that hurt us. I talked to the network planning team in Allegiant almost on a daily basis, and that was such a pain point. Additionally, the timing of it all. Allegiant started in our market, and only a couple weeks later, Spirit started in our market. Spirit has much more name recognition and notoriety within the aviation space. And so when people are coming to the airport, if they're looking for low-cost service and they have options between Spirit and Allegiant, Spirit is one that they've heard about. Good, bad, or ugly, they've heard about them. And so they were opting to fly them. So I will say, last thing we learned, we can't save an airline that has gone bankrupt. It's not our fault. We didn't do it. So unfortunately, after 2 bankruptcies in I think a very short amount of time, Spirit went under. They're no longer flying. So that was not our fault, but it's something that really impacted the aviation space as a whole. With Allegiant, it was not our fault, it was y'all's fault. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But sometimes we want to tell the community. Okay, I'm just going to be fully transparent for a second. So I had I think it was like the state newspaper or Post and Courier called me, and he was asking all the wrong questions, or I guess like asking me the questions in a way that was not the best. So he was like, tell me what the airport did wrong to lose Allegiant. And I was like, no. So what it is, we partner with our airlines, they provide the service, we market these routes and encourage people to fly, but it's not the airport doing something wrong. Why did you cancel all the flights to Spirit? And I was like, no, so Spirit went bankrupt. So I kept going on and on with him. And at one point I just said, you know what, I have to just tell you, if this community doesn't use this air service, we're gonna lose it. And that's exactly what happened. If you don't use it, you lose it, period. And he was like, oh, I get it. And I was like, yeah. I was like, write that in the paper. But seriously, that is it. If this community doesn't utilize the service that we have, it really will go away. And that's unfortunately what we've seen sometimes. This is our current route map, and my job is to get more dots on this map. So I'm really working hard on that. Chris has been a great addition to our team, and we have tag team a lot of this air service development. But it is a marathon. It's not a sprint at all. And it's something that we are proactively looking at and ensuring that we have our eye on the prize of any opportunity that we have to grow and expand our air service. I recently, along with our air service development consultants and Chris, we are going after a big grant, and we're hopefully going to hear something from that at the end of August. That grant is a grant toward additional air service. So if we are awarded this grant, you'll not only hear me scream from CAE, but you'll probably see in the paper as well that we will be able to have a significant amount of investment to go toward an airline in hopes of attracting them. Full disclosure, we've been talking and having great conversations with Breeze Airlines. We're also in talks with Southwest. We have talked with additional increased service on United. So there are options and opportunities out there, but like I said, it's a marathon, not a sprint. The last thing I'll say, sometimes people ask, well, Kim, what can we do to support the airport? And all we would say consistently, repeatedly, fly local. I also want to say check CAE. If you are flying somewhere, check out CAE, the routes offered, and just compare those prices, because literally every person who flies out of this market, it really does help. So thank you very much.
Okay, see Adam got up on the mic here, so we do have time for just a couple of questions. I think Adam, I saw a hand shoot up right there.
What impact does Fort Jackson have on the airport?
It appears that the military buys about 100,000 tickets a year in and out of CAE. So it's significant. That's why we have the USO presence there. And if you want to see the impact, come out on a Friday morning at about 8 a.m.
The other thing too, I try to work closely with their travel team at Fort Jackson to get as many of their troops to fly through our airport. A lot of times they've told us that the overall seat availability is the tough part, and so I've been able to take that information to the airlines and let them know. And there have been some instances where they were able to engage service on various routes to make accommodations for our troops. But it's something that we're working on, because if they can't fly to CAE, they bus them to Charlotte, and we want to keep those dollars in South Carolina.
Yes, just quickly, I know a young man who has a job doing an internship at a big pharma company in the area. It's an internship, but he also has a job at the airport, and he's a star student at the University of South Carolina. And when his grandmother asked him which job he'd like to go to, if either one when he graduated, he said definitely the airport, because I feel like I can rise up in the ranks. So that's a statement. The question is, how do y'all work with the Department of Commerce as it relates to bringing in business?
We work very closely with the Department of Commerce and the Economic Development teams from both Richland and Lexington counties. I actually sit on the Central Sea Board of Directors as well as several other organizations, so we work very closely with them. The Department of Commerce also has provided grants to the airport. I mentioned removing the constraints to growth. They're helping us do that by reinvesting in the airport. The airports have done studies in the past and found that for every state dollar that goes into the airport, there's a 21-to-1 ROI. So those investments are very worthwhile.
I saw on your slideshow that your runway was 8,001 foot long. Is there a reason for that 1 foot? And as a consumer, I hope I never have to use that 1 foot.
Well, I couldn't tell you. We built it to 8,000 and it grew. It would get hot down here during the summer. There also are some magic things. If it's over 8,000, it's this. If it's 8,000 or less, it's that. So, yeah.
Sorry, real quick, I just wanted to tell you, Kim, that we have been checking prices, and it's actually cheaper to fly out of Columbia than Charlotte.
Yes. Thank you. You want to come and be on ad for us?
I don't really have a question. I just want to say how proud I am of our airport. It's so beautiful. I've traveled to 29 countries. It's the easiest airport. Everyone is so friendly. And yeah, check the prices, because if we don't travel from Columbia, then we keep going from Charlotte or Atlanta or something, then we're not going to get more flights. So we want to keep it here in our own city. And it's just, I'm so proud of our airport. It's beautiful, and your staff should be so commended. Everyone is so friendly and kind, and it's a thrill to fly out of Columbia.
Thank you. Thank you. We're very proud of it. Proud of our team.
I don't necessarily need the microphone. You mentioned increased destinations. If you could pick 2 or 3, which would those be and why?
Yeah, Denver is top of that list. I think that our furthest west service right now is DFW, and I think that too, having Denver is one of the top destinations on our travel to list. So we are able to see where our passengers are flying to, like their end destination, no matter if it's a nonstop or not. And so Denver has regularly come up. I think Boston would do really well, Detroit, Nashville, Orlando. So there's some good ones there. Yes, sir.
Quick couple, three things. One, has a company won the contract for the solar already, and who was that won that contract?
Yes, CMT is doing the construction of it, but that's already under construction now.
And the solar panels and everything? Okay, great.
They're on site.
The second thing I was going to point out is I think throughout the SEC, when there's an away game, some airline flies into that away city, flies everybody that can get on that plane to the away game and then back. Is that Delta? I forgot who does that, but that's kind of a cool feature inside of the SEC.
Yeah, Delta does that.
That's very cool.
And I can't provide the specifics right this moment to see what's potentially on deck for this season, but check it out too.
Yeah, very sure. And then lastly, there may or may not be a very important guest coming into town on Wednesday. What happens when Air Force One comes in? Does air traffic come to a stop, or what happens? That you could say.
When the president travels, you'll see something issued called a temporary flight restriction, where they basically shut down the airspace for a brief period of time. And they do that over wherever he or she may be. So if they move around, they go to some other venue nearby, they will have an exclusive zone around that. That's the only person that gets a temporary flight restriction typically, but you'll see lots of blue and white planes. There's a whole fleet of them across the country that move diplomats and other important people around. So, and no, I don't have any specific information about people coming to visit us other than Lily Center.
I have one quick question.
and that's follow up on Mason's part there. Did the engineers give you a return on investment for the solar collectors versus what you're saying? And how long did it take?
Well, one thing we do know of is it's gonna have an ROI of about 5 to 8 years. So that's a pretty darn acceptable ROI.
Okay, I think in an effort to stay on time, we're going to wrap it up, and thank you both very much for coming. Yes, and Kim says you may reach out at any point, so please take note of her contact information there. Next week, we will have Kelly Watson from the South Carolina EMS Association. And now if you would all please stand and join me in song. And, oh, yeah,